There's no guard here. Does that say military restricted area? And after I put the camera away, he said, do not film here. So I'm getting out of here. Good morning, folks, from a spring morning in Wuhan. Today we're off to the park. Why are we going to the park? Well, my wife's got some errands to run later on today, and I'm going to meet her there this afternoon. But for this morning, we're going to head to that same kind of area, to a park. And this park, from what I understand about it, is just kind of nuts. It's very Chinese in its kind of craziness, but yeah, I've never been there before. We're going to jump on the subway, head over to the park, and I'll explain more. Well, today we're here. We're just going one stop on line 7 and then all the way over to this park over here. And if we got time later on, there's a stadium just up the road. Me and my stadiums, I'm keen to go have a look at that as well. The subway markings here are very clear. I'm yet to really go the wrong way, so yeah, happy days for good design. I changed my mind during that trip on the subway. We'll check out the stadium first and then see if we can ride a bike over to the park, because it's just one subway stop. Well, folks, there it is. Wuhan 5 Rings Sports Stadium. I'm not sure how far we're going to be able to get in, but we'll go as far as we can go. Now, if you remember the other day, we went to a sports stadium kind of nearby, and they had kind of a very positive story about the football team who was in 2nd division. One got promoted to the Super League, and then in their first go, won the Super League, despite the fact that there was kind of a COVID disrupted season. This stadium's football team has the opposite story, in that they were slowly kind of making their way down the Chinese football pyramid. They ended up getting relegated at the end of 2022. They got docked points for failing to pay the wages of their players. And since then, the football team has actually disbanded. So as far as I'm aware, this stadium does not have a tenant in terms of a regular sports side. So what they use it for, your guess is as good as mine. There's no guard here. Wow, look at that. That's the seats where the players would have sat next to the football pitch. They've wheeled it all the way out here. This was the team. Wuhan Football Club. These are the guys who've disbanded. Players would have sat here overlooking the football pitch, waiting to be substituted on. Crazy. Looks like they've got something going on inside, some kind of competition. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get in, but we'll try. Now the ground back there looked pretty green, like the turf. But this team had that much trouble that apparently at one point they were docked points again, or they were forfeited a game because the ground wasn't up to kind of the required conditions. And they were even accused of painting the grass green because it was just dead grass. Apart from the football team, who's now defunct, the only other usage I know of for this stadium is they've used it to host some kind of military games, I guess like the Olympics for the military. But I can hear whistles, so something's going on in there. How do we get in? There's the Predator. The Predator would be able to get in, that's for sure. Most of these buildings are empty. That one's got some kind of like preschool place. These buildings, these little offices, they're all empty. All empty. Trampoline park. So it seems like a lot of these little offices around, which kind of ring around the stadium, are set up for like kids trampoline park, a little roller skating club. But yeah, a lot of it seems pretty deserted. Football fields, it's like an archery club, and basketball courts over there. I mean, I suppose most stadiums outside of game or concert days are pretty quiet like this, but this is pretty creepy. Most of the time you can't just wander on in. There's a swimming complex over there. Some guy getting his fitness in. So apart from the main ground, there's definitely like a whole kind of sporting village complex, basketball courts, outdoor like training fields next to the ground. And fire engines. It must be something to do with some kind of fireman's competition. Ooh. 你好，今天是不是有什么比赛呢？ Well folks, that was the football stadium. I'm getting out of here because I thought I kind of politely asked what I'm assuming was a fireman. Is there some kind of competition on here today? He took one look at my camera, hardly said a word, and just told me, do not bring that thing here. And after I put the camera away, he said, do not film here. So I'm getting out of here. I have no desire to get in trouble, just to satisfy my curiosity for this football stadium. I think we've seen enough. Let's go to the park and breathe. Breathe. That guy's death stare. Whew. Man. Nasty. Well, that feels better. Nice peaceful park. Away from, I don't want to say angry, because the guy wasn't angry, but scary. Scary fireman who doesn't like me filming. Well folks, we're on a bike. A rickety, kind of noisy bike, but it's a bike. I had to get my wife to scan the code. I couldn't get it to work. So she scanned the code for me remotely. It's one of the things I will undoubtedly complain about at some point, is about how if you've got a Chinese ID card, getting stuff to work is remarkably easy. If you do not have one, yeah, difficulty level increases. But anyway, we're on a bike and we're at this park called, it's kind of called like Dock Pond Park rather than Duck Pond. So yeah, the name itself of this park is something of a controversy because the Chinese language can be a bit of a funny thing. Matou means dock, but the exact same pronunciation can also mean a horse which kind of jumps. For a long time this park was kind of known as the horse which jumps into the pond park, erroneously, rather than kind of Dock Pond Park. So the reason this place is known as kind of Dock Pond Park, if you can hear me over this bloody bike, is because historically there was a dock which was connected to a nearby riverway, so traders could bring stuff to and from the dock. But somehow an urban legend took rise of a horse that committed suicide by jumping into the pond. By all accounts, there was a farmer who used the horses for work around the farm. He had two horses, a male and a female. They were also mother and son. Now, by all accounts, the farmer didn't want to pay to have the mare breed with another horse. You can see where this is going. So he thought he could get the son to breed with the mother. Now, horses, according to the story, refused to engage in that kind of debauched behavior. So at the right time of year, when the horses were wanting to do their thing, he blindfolded both of the horses, put them together, And sure enough, they mated. But upon removing the blindfold and seeing that she had just mated with her son, the mare bolted off into the pond and killed herself out of shame. And the son, seeing his mother do that, followed suit and also dove into the water, ending his own life. Now that urban legend grew in such popularity that people actually thought that's what the park was named after, but it was just an urban legend. And now the park retains its original name relating to the dock, which was next to the pond. Such are the joys of learning Chinese. A lot of words can have the same pronunciation, but a totally different character, totally different meaning. 这些地方都是干嘛的？就是。
它这边现在好像有的可能被那个用作商用了吧，就是做店铺。是吧？但是现在有的店铺就没有开。
没有开哦。
但是刚修好没几年，好像。他平时反正周六周日人会很多。是吧？哦。他这边商铺也有些会开。是吧？对，如果想过来可以周六周日过来。哦。
Is this a military restricted area? I want to go this way to have a look, but I'm also not inclined to get in any more trouble today. Maybe we'll leave the bike here and go for a wander up the path. I'm assuming the military restricted area is that part, not this part. Ancient workers. No, it's not ancient, it's a tractor. Okay. Right, we're on foot in what doesn't seem to be the military restricted area. Just seems to be a park. We were just on that road. Let's head into the ancient town. They literally called it ancient town on the sign. And there's nobody here. The ancient town. But there's a toilet. Let's use the toilet. So at least we got something out of this trip to the park. Okay. We're gonna climb that thing. That's gonna be the climax of this trip to the park. We're gonna climb that thing and maybe take a piss. Obviously not take a piss from that thing. Toilets are here. Then we go climb that thing. Every urinal seems to have that same little take on the moon landing saying, instead of one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind, it's basically take one step closer to the toilet to be more civilized. Basically a fancy way of saying don't piss on the floor. Up we go. Well, they reckon the view's not bad from the top. And it was an unenthusiastic, that's alright. Well, that, folks, is the view from the top. Complete with a little bit of rubbish on the awnings. But it is nice and cool here. So I'm going to stay here for a few minutes, cool off, and then go back that way and grab that bike, because I think you can get in trouble for leaving the bikes in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, that's it. From the park that the horse didn't jump into the water in. It's just a park that used to have a pier. And that's it. Some kind of mural. And then randomly, a door. That is what I could see from the bridge. That thing. No graffiti. No urinating. No superstitious activities. No gambling. No fun.